Welcome to the 2020 IRMA Annual Meeting. Normally, we would be gathering in person in the Empire Room of the Palmer House Hilton in Chicago, renewing acquaintances, swapping stories, and otherwise engaging in fellowship over a warm meal. As with so many other parts of 2020, this year we are conducting the first ever virtual IRMA Annual Meeting. While challenging, we are still standing, still hopeful, and doubling down, betting on future success. To the members of IRMA, I say thank you. Despite facing your own unprecedented challenges, throughout our efforts, you took time to send messages of support and encouragement to me and the IRMA staff, seemingly always at the perfect time. The unwavering support of the members spurred us on when adrenaline had run its course. And your continued financial support of IRMA, despite your own challenges, is deeply appreciated. I want to thank the IRMA Board of Directors, and particularly our chairman, Jim Havey. The collective engagement and leadership of the IRMA board has been absolutely essential to our success. Finally, I want to thank the IRMA staff. Even while others had not yet appreciated the gravity of the approaching pandemic, IRMA pivoted early and seamlessly to meet the wide variety of needs of the members. Despite no experience of the pandemic, no notes to reference or experience to call upon, the IRMA team rose to the occasion. For years, I have said I would put the IRMA team up against any other. 2020 proved that once again to be true. To all of you, I say thank you. It's easy to forget how far we've come in such a short time. Late February and early March seem to have been a lifetime ago, as opposed to 8 short months. I was reminded of that in preparing these remarks and reviewing IRMA's efforts. The examples are many, and if we were to go through them all, this video would be an hour long. For the sake of time, here's a few examples. Researching what other countries had done or were doing in response to COVID, and thinking through and anticipating what decisions might be made here, how that would impact members, and how we could constructively engage with state and local leaders. Initiating what turned into countless ongoing conversations and meetings with the Governor's Office, the Departments of Public Health, Commerce and Economic Opportunity, Agriculture, Financial and Professional Regulation, the Employment Security, and others, as well as the Chicago Mayor's Office and their Departments of Public Health and Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, as we tried to shape what the response would look like and ensure the realities of retail and the needs of the customers retail serves were included in the decision-making. Working with federal, state, and local governments to remove obstacles in the supply chain to ensure consumer needs were met. Ensuring restaurants could continue to operate by drive-through, takeout, and delivery, thereby giving restaurants a lifeline and lessening pressure on grocery stores. Running a 10-day statewide radio advertising campaign, encouraging consumers to wear face coverings and maintain social distance in order to protect themselves and retailers while shopping. Providing timely and vital information, before it was even public, that retailers needed in order to adjust to ever-changing government regulations related to the pandemic. Providing a jobs board so people being laid off from jobs in one sector as a result of shutdowns related to the pandemic could find other jobs if they so desired. Responding to the endless parade of rumors so Illinois retailers knew what was real and what wasn't. Pushing for other retailers to be allowed to be open under the same conditions as so-called essential retailers. While not successful during the initial shutdown, it demonstrated IRMA's attention to detail and, as we now know, could have been done. Ensuring the voice of retail was heard, not only in the halls of power, but in the public. This was true not only for rules and regulations, but when retailers and their employees were facing dangerous confrontations from consumers. Perhaps most importantly, IRMA removed any access restrictions to ensure the information IRMA provided was available not only to IRMA members, but to any interested Illinois retailer, as well as local chambers of commerce. This won't always be the case, but it was done because it was the right thing to do for everyone during this crisis. While IRMA goes the extra mile in pursuit of partnership and cooperation, when forced into a corner by others, your association is unafraid to push back, and push back hard. Examples include IRMA and the IRMA, supported by 24 other associations in a successful lawsuit to protect employers from government overreach on workers' compensation. Another example was IRMA's response to the misguided effort to further endanger retailers and their employees by turning us into face-covering police. When we thought we had finally settled into a routine with the pandemic, our members were hit not once, but twice by organized retail crime syndicates and looters who took advantage of legitimate protests seeking racial justice and equality after the tragic deaths, in particular, of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. The organized retail criminals and individual looters devastated retailers and other businesses who were already hurting, causing tens of millions of dollars in damages, particularly but not exclusively, in the city of Chicago. Their actions not only further set back retail recovery and took away jobs and livelihoods, but set back the recovery of the city of Chicago. As we look back on the pandemic and the looting, I would be remiss if I did not thank our friends at Mac Strategies for their outstanding work, diligence, and patience as they also took on greater workload throughout this pandemic. Their work on IRMA's behalf has always been outstanding and certainly went to another level in 2020. Further, we appreciate their friendship. So on behalf of everyone at IRMA, thank you to Ryan McLaughlin and his outstanding team at Mac Strategies. It is said that fortune smiles on the prepared, and we have certainly experienced that. Little did we know how important IRMA's successful efforts to get the Leveling the Playing Field Act passed last year would be, not just for retail, but for the state, units of local government, and schools with construction projects. This means remote sellers were required to collect and remit the state's use tax. Beginning January 1st, they must also collect the full sales tax, the state's 6.25%, plus any locally imposed tax. That means they must collect the same sales tax as Illinois retailers. It also means that state and local governments would be even worse financial condition were it not for IRMA's persistence and efforts and those of our ally, the Illinois Municipal League. Nevertheless, the near total shutdown of much of retail has been felt not only by retailers, but by those who depend on the sales taxes retailers generate. Even in this, there is a bright spot. The pandemic has shone a bright spotlight on the often overlooked and taken for granted retail sector. Illinois retailers are the largest generators of revenue for local governments and the second largest for the state. We are also the largest employer by sector. When retail is gone or shut down, as we have been during the pandemic, it is noticed. It is long past time for policymakers to acknowledge that fact and make policy accordingly. The pandemic has demonstrated that all retailers are essential. That is why retail needs policymakers to help by enacting at the very least the following: 100% tax credits for retailers who purchase equipment to secure their buildings, such as roll-down protective barriers for doors and windows, bulletproof windows, and motor vehicle barriers, to name a few. The retailers who generate so much revenue for the state and units of local government need help protecting themselves and their employees where or when government cannot. Enact IRMA's proposals on modernizing Illinois' organized retail crime statutes to better enable law enforcement to persecute and prosecute the organized retail criminals who were behind so much of the looting a few months ago and are a plague on retailers and their customers. Empower smaller retailers by ensuring they can purchase alcohol through cooperatives and obtain quality discounts. Expand access to healthcare by allowing pharmacists to participate at the top of their license and reimburse them properly for their services. Further, anything that impedes the renewal of retail must be discarded. For example, some groups are advocating that the felony threshold for retail theft be increased from $300 to $2,000, meaning someone could steal up to $2,000 in merchandise as often as they want and receive no meaningful penalty. We find that to be shockingly tone-deaf at a time when we should be united around encouraging a full rebound of the retail sector, a process that will likely take years. Any proposed increase should be dead on arrival. Similarly, efforts to impose taxes such as a head tax or to shift an even greater portion of the property tax to commercial property should be set aside. We recognize that leads to tough choices, but discouraging the revitalization of the sales tax generators in the retail sector also leads to long-term challenges and even more difficult choices. The stark reality is that without a strong and vibrant retail sector creating jobs and generating sales, property, and income tax revenues, the state and local governments cannot escape their own fiscal challenges. Amidst the pandemic, there were additional changes within IRMA. First, Our 35-year relationship with the Illinois Food Retailers Association culminated September 1st with the members of IFRA merging into IRMA. As part of that merger, the IRMA Food Council was created within IRMA and unites Illinois' grocery industry under one roof. Likewise, Brian Jordan and Dawn Durkin joined the IRMA team as Executive Director of the IRMA Food Council and Manager of the IRMA Chicago office, respectively. Debbie Cole, the manager of IRMA's Springfield office, has been with IRMA 38 years. She and her husband Steve are the proud grandparents of twins who live in Texas. Unfortunately for IRMA, Debbie has decided the time has come to retire. IRMA members and staff have benefited so much from Debbie's patience, tireless work ethic, unflappable and pleasant personality, willingness to constantly learn new skills, and overall expertise. She is a problem solver without peer. She has brought consistent joy to all who come into contact with her throughout the years and is an inspiration for how she has lived out her faith. While I am certainly sad to see Debbie go, I am glad that she can join Steve in retirement and that the primary motivation is to enjoy the blessings of those grandchildren. We wish Debbie nothing but health, happiness, and joy when she officially retires on December 31st. But with endings come beginnings. Brynne Scott joined the IRMA team on September 28th and is already transitioning fabulously into Debbie's position in IRMA's Springfield office. 2020 has proven that associations like IRMA have never been more important to the members they serve. As we look towards 2021, we are hopeful that we can begin the process of putting the pandemic behind us and seeing policy and opinion makers commit to the regeneration of retail. As we always have, IRMA stands willing to work with all of goodwill. In closing, I want to once again thank the members of IRMA, and we look forward to a brighter 2021 for all.